Hi everyone, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio. I'm back today with a colouring in Fantasy Tiny Homes. This is the newly re-released version by RJ Hampson with some updated images in there. And I'm going to colour today with some Sakura Koi colouring brush pens. Now I bought these pens or markers earlier this year and I don't remember how much I paid for them. I purchased them in a store here in Australia called Officeworks, which is an office supply store, and I remember they were on a sale, but I can't remember how much I paid for them. I haven't done any research into them, and I don't really want to get into putting links to products either, so I will show you what they are. If you want to look them up, I'm pretty sure you'll be able to find them, that being that Sakura is a quite well-known brand. So these are 6 small curated sets, and they are grey. This one is called Flowers. This one is called Basic, Nature, Sunset, and Portrait. Now there's some really lovely colours. I haven't actually gone through to see if there's any doubling up on colours. They don't appear to be. They all look like they're individual colours. But I can't swear to that. So this is the sunset version. I'll just show you what the pens are like. They are very small. They have a brush tip on them, which is quite soft. And for example, this one has got Viridian, Sky Blue, Burgundy, Orange, Vermilion, and Fuchsia. So they're quite small in size compared to other water-based brush tip markers. And on the pen itself, it does actually say water-based dye stuff ink for students, graphic artists, designers, illustrators, architects, cartoonists. So that is the markers. And what I plan to do today is colour or start colouring in this page called Mouse House. And I have used these pens before, not very often, so I'm quite new to them, but we'll have a little play and see what we think of them. I might start down here with the fire. I've got a very soft tip, so you can get some small details done there. I think I might do, I quite like the look of this Viridian. So with the Koi colouring brush pens, it is water-based, but you can see with the water brush pen, although they are bleeding, they're not bleeding as much as I've had some other water-based markers bleed. So I've got an old plate here that I'm going to have a go with doing it this way. And I think that's going to, yeah, it's a much better result. So that's a really lovely colour. I always think of Viridian as being quite green, but this has got a very much a blue touch to it. So while I've got that out, I shall put that into a few different places. So what I think I might do with these is work pretty much like a watercolour wash, and then come back at the end and put any sort of details or strengthening colour up towards the end. It really is quite lovely colour. So in the past I've often thought to myself, you know, these products that double up, like why bother? If you want to do watercolour, then paint with watercolour. If you want to draw with marker, draw with marker, and so on. But these products can be really handy, especially if you're travelling, or you know, if you're creating original artwork and you're out in the field, so to speak, using them on a location. They're very handy. Instead of having to carry around a lot of supplies, you can actually you know, have this one set of markers and do a few different things with them. So it always pays, I think, to I might just use that colour again up here for the mouse's trousers. It does pay to play with your supplies and just see what can be achieved with them, and think outside the box a little bit. Okay, so that was Viridian. I'm actually going to use the sky blue here. And they're really quite juicy because I've had a quick play with them, but not really used them very much. So I love the vibrancy of the colour. So I might just do a very loose, washy sky. So I might have a go in a minute with trying to achieve a bit of a wet in wet sort of wash with these. At the moment I'm just applying that to dry paper. The other good thing about these sorts of markers are when you're working traditionally with watercolour out of a tube, for example, or a palette, you can mix colours up, of course, but if you don't sufficiently mix up enough for what you want to use, what you want to colour, it can sometimes be difficult to remix that colour again. And I think with these markers it might be marginally easier when you've got, it's very controlled what's coming out of that marker onto the plate or the palette or piece of plastic, whatever you're using. It might be a little bit easier to sort of control that remixing of colours, I think. Certainly if you were out somewhere in public, you know, and you were trying to paint a landscape or a scenery, you know, a house or whatever, and you're new to painting or whatever, these would be very, very convenient to just having a little case or, you know, bag or something to work from, and there's not a lot of cleanup either. Sometimes when I used to work with watercolour paint out of tubes, I used to have a habit of squeezing out far too much paint and then wasting it because I had no way of keeping it. So again, this is an easy way of making sure that you get that same colour every single time. Didn't think this one through too well when I chose it. Some very fiddly little small areas there to be doing with a big water brush like this. I could of course get a smaller brush and use a pot of water, but I didn't think that far ahead. I've actually been feeling a little bit unwell this afternoon, so I was hoping that sitting here quietly painting might actually help settle the uneasiness that I was feeling. So I'm mostly doing this because of the position that I'm in with the camera and showing you, but if you find it hard to relax your style, especially if you're painting, I'm holding the brush very far back from the tip here, and the further I'm holding the brush back, the less control I seem to have of it, and so my paint strokes are less reliable and a bit untidy. But if you are in fact trying to loosen up, that's a handy thing to do to force yourself to relax your style, because you physically have less control over the brush. So if you've been trying to force yourself to work a little bit more loosely, have a go at doing that. Hold your brush, or if you're colouring with a marker or a pencil, hold it much further back on the barrel, and you'll see that you'll be forced to loosen your style. But what I'm thinking is where I'm going over some of those edges, and I'm just going to wipe that excess there off with the paper towel. I can come over the tree with any other medium if I feel like I need to hide any of that where I've gone over. There's going to be ways to get around that. So that was the sky blue that I used up there on that sky. And talking about the tree itself, I might go for, let me have a look here. I've got the nature set. We've got raw umber here. I think I might try the raw umber. True to form, I have not swatched any of these and don't even really know what many of them are going to look like, because I've really just had a very quick play with these sets that I've got here. And I'm wanting that to be quite loose because I'm going to bring some other colour in with it, I think. Tree bark has lots of different colours in it. So this is dark brown. So we'll just bleed that in a little bit with it. So I've had a really busy morning. I've been racing around doing lots of things and haven't really eaten very well today, so I'm not sure if that's what's impacted on me feeling a bit peculiar, but yeah, I'm feeling a little bit out of sorts at the moment. I find that I do get to a point with tiredness because I don't sleep great, that it eventually catches up with me to the point where I feel quite exhausted, and then I'll have a night where I sleep reasonably well because I basically just sort of crash, and I feel like I might be getting close to that point. So I know that a certain canine will be expecting a second walk pretty soon, but he might be unfortunate today because unless I start to feel a bit better, I don't know that I really want to leave the house. Let's have a look. This is the portrait set, raw sienna, dark warm grey. Dark warm grey might be good actually. Not all tree trunks are just browns, so grey can be good in a tree trunk. So the nice thing working this way versus directly onto the paper is that you can play about with mixing these colours together. And add and sort of put water or add more colour as you see fit. You can't do that when you work directly onto paper. Now generally when I'm sitting in front of the TV, I don't have the space for this because I'm just working on my lap. However, sitting at a table or a desk, this is a nice way to work. And once again, what I'm doing here is starting out really quite lightly and building up the colour, because once I go very dark, it's going to be very difficult to lighten it back up. You know, I'd have to bring in that acrylic paint pen or jelly roll in white or something to lighten it back up again. Or a white pencil. You could even use a white pastel pencil or something like that, or a China white pencil if you have one. But when you're working sort of in this watercolour wash sort of light manner, I feel like adding too much white afterwards to lighten things up really does a disservice to the lovely light watercolour washes and looks a little bit heavy. So, okay, so I'm okay with that so far. That's looking okay. I'm just going to clean all of that off. There's not a lot of waste doing that either, so you know, don't feel like you're wasting your markers too much by doing that. So I'm thinking oh gee, words are hard. The mouse house here down here, I'm not going to go for particularly too natural a colour, because I think, you know, maybe they might like to brighten their little house up a bit. So we've got that lovely colour there. What could I put on the walls to go with that? Or I might look at the chairs first, perhaps. So with the chairs, I might suggest that they're a leather chair. This one here is raw sienna. And I'm thinking about those lovely tan leather chairs that you can get. So we'll go for that sort of colour to start with, and we can build that up. It isn't as vibrant as I thought that it might be. You know, looking at the cap, I thought it might be a little bit more of a tan than that, but that's okay. Something else I like about markers like this is that if that pigment dries on the plate, you can just add more water to it and reactivate it. So again, if you don't want to wipe all that off, you can save it and just re-wet it at a later stage if you feel like you need to. So I hope everyone is keeping well. Here in the southern hemisphere, of course, we're in winter time, so it's been really quite chilly this morning. I know some of my Canadian and US friends would probably laugh and not think it's that cold at all, but certainly by our standards, it has been quite chilly. Our houses are also not very well geared up for winter. We're more geared towards summer. So I'm going to actually try this fuchsia and see what fuchsia looks like. Oh, that's not what I was expecting at all. Okay, I might hang off using that one. I was thinking, you know, this colour, but no. Yeah, our houses aren't really that well geared towards the cooler months. We're sort of much more suited to cooling our houses for summer. It's yellow. I don't really know what I want to do today. I'm feeling really out of sorts, to be honest. Which is quite unusual for me when it comes to colouring. Let's have a look what else we've got in this portrait set.